Welcome to Brighter Shores Central, the central information for any news or discussions and guides about this upcoming MMORPG Brighter Shores. And in this video, we're going to be talking about which skill is going to be the most profitable within Brighter Shores MMORPG. And I've got a few ideas on this, and I could keep it to myself in terms of some of the theory crafting that I've been doing and some of the notes that I've been taking, but I've decided to share it all. I've decided to share it all on the YouTube channel, and what I'm thinking is going to become the most profitable skills. If we look at supply and demand, if we look at how an economy can work, kind of translates over, but I am a business teacher, so I do one-to-one dissertation for supervision. So I understand the fundamentals of business, I understand the fundamentals of supply and demand on video games itself, but also in real life for items as well, for physical items alongside the digital items as well. So we're going to go through each profession that we know of in Brighter Shores, and we're going to be looking at which ones could be potentially making you the most coin to start off with in Brighter Shores, so that you can build up net worth in the game straight away. And that's obviously going to be benefiting to you because you'll be able to get the higher levels items faster, then also get them hopefully at a cheaper price before the economy sees inflation, which it probably will do. Now, the first profession to talk about is there is going to be fishing within the game. Now, of course, because this is a raw resource, the fact that you're probably only going to need some sort of bait or some sort of fishing rod to actually catch the fish, and all you will need other than that is your time. So no doubt fishing is going to be able to make you money on this game. So it doesn't cost that much to actually get started with fishing, but you're going to be able to do it and then hopefully sell your fish on to other players who will need it for PvP or not PvP, because we don't know whether there is. Check my other video about that. But there's for PVM, for example. So we think that maybe fishing can be profitable. And again, it depends where you fish as well. I suppose as the higher level you get, the rarer fish that you can catch and the more money that can be made from it. But there is also going to be a lot of other players that have the same idea of, well, this doesn't cost much money to get into in terms of fishing, but there is profit, nice and easy profit, where I can just sell the fish to other players. The next one associated with fishing is, of course, chef, in association with creating dishes that can be used for, I suppose, PVM to boost your stats. I think that's probably how it's going to be used. So it would be probably a good idea if you are going to do fishing. You could focus on fishing only and then just absolutely max that out as much as you can to get to the rarer fish and sell those rarer fish. But in the long term, it's probably better to train chef alongside it, because you'll be able to cook whatever you're making and then sell the actual goods straight away rather than selling the raw goods, because someone's going to have to cook them. The other idea is Forager as well. So I actually think Forager is obviously going to go into chef. So Fisher and Forager are probably going to implicate chef. You know, you're going to have to forage certain items and then obviously fish certain fish, and those combined make certain dishes. So it would make sense if you're going to go down this route that a Fisher, Forager, chef might be a good way to do it, because then if you train all three, then not only will you be able to catch the high level fish, but you'll also be able to make the higher level dishes. The other option is, because there is going to be player-to-player trading, is to try and buy fish and foraging materials from other players and just become a chef. You know, become Gordon Ramsay in Brighter Shores, you know what I mean? And just train your chef profession up and make the most optimal dishes that are going to be useful for other players. And you could just buy the fish off people, and then obviously you're going to have your foragers and try to buy foraging materials as well, and just focus on making dishes and selling those to other players. That could be actually more profitable than having to go through and fish, then forage the item, and then make the item, because those are three activities that you have to do. Now, if you're going to be optimal here, what you could do is, if there's going to player trading, then you can start to do deals and get those off other players, and then build the dishes and sell them. And especially if you can build up a community. So say you buy from someone before, you add them to your friends list and say, look, if you have any more of these goods, I'll pay you, top dollar for them, or whatever, top coin. So that is one way to do it. I think that Chef could be underrated in this. I think that if you're buying the resources, this could be a good way to make money in Brighter Shores, just from my supply and demand side of what I'm thinking here. Because if people are going to be going straight into PVM, and there is a lot of people out there that are just going to max combat, they're going to go to combat as much as they possibly can, and because of that, they're going to need resources. One of those resources is probably going to be provided from chefs. So there is going to be money to be made there as well. The next one is woodcutter as well. So again, with woodcutter, of course, maybe that you need to make certain burrs with them as well, or certain items. So we'll see how that plays out. But much like Fisher, again, it's probably going to be a skill where you don't need much investment to get started with it, and you can make money straight away from it. But again, we have to think about supply and demand here. It depends what you can make with the items that you get from woodcutting, and that could be the bigger profit maker. Okay, not the raw materials themselves, but what you could make with them, especially early game. The next one is miner. You'll be able to mine different rare ores and different resources, and that would be very interesting. Now, miner is, of course, going to be paired with blacksmithing, so the ability to craft different types of armor. Now, this is the same as the chef. I do think that blacksmithing, at least in the early game, the first few months of the game, is going to be incredibly powerful. So if you're able to buy raw resources from miners and just get your blacksmithing level up as much as possible to then build the best possible armors and then sell those armors to other players for a profit, I think that blacksmithing could be a very profitable skill as well if you're buying the raw resources or mining them yourself. Now, I also think miners could make a lot of money on the game as well. Like, just think about it. If you're some of the first, say, top 500 players to first mine a certain rare ore that the blacksmithers need, then you can charge a large amount of money for those mining resources, because there is a low supply of them, because there's only a certain amount of people that have got to that level to be able to supply it to the blacksmithers. So you are then able to charge a high price for these items for the time being, at least in the first few months. And again, with the blacksmithers, they can charge what they want for their armor sets as well, within reason as well. I would say that for me, I'm probably going to be focused on maybe blacksmithing and maybe chef. I'm not too sure, one of the two. I'm going to try to do deals that are a lot less market price, so to speak, for subscribers in particular. There's also, for example, Stonemason. Now, we can also see in one of the pictures that's in Stonemason that there is some sort of trophy being created that is to do with maybe Stonemason. We could see how that could be useful as well. I'm not too sure how profitable Stonemason is going to be. If anybody's got any ideas on that, I'm unsure. Now, Alchemist is another big one. I think Alchemist is going to be paired with Forager. So yeah, of course, Forager is going to be able to pick up certain ingredients, and then you can use those ingredients as an alchemist. This is another supply and demand argument. Now, if people are going out in combat, what are people going to need the most? Number one, food, in terms of a chef. Number two, upgrades in armor, so blacksmithing. And number three, potions, so to keep their stats up or whatever they're doing, So I think that alchemists, there's going to be a huge demand for potions, okay? And as you level up and get to the higher level potions, of course, there is going to be less and less people being able to make those potions, whilst also being a massive demand for those potions in the same sense as well. So, interestingly, I think that alchemists, supply and demand of a economy, we will see that alchemists actually potentially making a lot of money as well at the early game. Now, I think that, of course, the problem with chef, alchemist and blacksmith, you're going to need to earn some coins to begin with to be able to then reinvest into buying the raw materials to then make these items, right? The potions, the items in armor and the chef dishes. So you're going to need to make some money to begin with. So you might need to actually level up, say, woodcutting or mining or fishing, just to get some early, coins on this game. I was going to say GP then. Early coins on this game, or maybe a bit of combat to get some coins. And then from that, then start to buy these resources for alchemy, blacksmithers, and chef, because I feel like these three are going to be the most profitable in the game in the early game. When in the later game, when people just want to level these skills to max out, you could see that these become unprofitable. But I think at the start of the game, they are profitable. If you look at what happened in old school RuneScape, when old school RuneScape first came out, when it first re-released, I played from day one. Okay, I was actually close to like the top 10 in mining for the first few days, but after that I fell off. But I actually noticed that there was skills that were profitable back in day one. Anybody who played old school back right when it first came out will understand. Like people who were making armor were making profit. People who were crafting, profit. Herblore, people selling potions were making mad profit on selling these potions, because there was such a high demand from the people doing combat and there was not enough people making them and buying the resources and putting everything together. So there is going to be a lot of money to be made depending on how the economy works. We don't know how exactly player-to-player trading works yet. This is the problem. But I do think that there is going to be certain skills that are going to be very useful, but they're going to be taken a lot. You're going to have to like run it like a business in a sense. You're going to have to get your suppliers. You're going to have to craft the items and then sell the goods. So you're going to have to work out how you're going to best optimize this in the best possible way as well, if you're looking to make some money on these items. And there is always going to be demand for these items as well. So you're going to be able to sell them easily. It just depends whether those that are gathering the resources are going to make the items themselves. If they are, then of course there's going to be limited resources, raw materials to actually buy and then make them. So we have to see how many people are going to hold on to their raw materials and not sell them and basically just make the stuff themselves, and how many are going to buy these raw resources. It's supply and demand. So that's what it's dependent on. I can only say this is what's most likely to be more profitable. I can't say for certain. This is speculation. But if you think about how an economy works and how items fluctuate and what items could be more usable in the game, it makes sense that actually things like blacksmith, alchemist, and chef are going to be fairly profitable. But again, there is going to be the other skills like mining, like woodcutting, that requires no investment whatsoever in terms of coin. You're going to be able to start with very little coins and just train those up and sell the resources on if you just want to make money that way and not have to deal with trading back and forth, because that's what you'd have to do a lot if you're like just going to be a chef, because you're going to have to trade for the raw resources, you're going to have to sell the dishes you make, and you're going to be spending half your life in a trade screen. So it just depends which way you want to play the game. When we do know more about these professions, I will be doing guides on them. I will be showcasing different methods that you can do. I'll be doing all sorts of stuff like that. So if you're interested in Brighter Shores, MMORPG, then do subscribe to the channel. And if you found the video useful in any sort of way or interesting, then do smash the like button on this video as well. Thank you for watching, and I'll see everybody in my next Brighter Shores video.